Topic is whether or not the NSA should be allowed to access private cell phone data. We'll begin with our significance claim, defining our essential liberty of privacy. First point, but that's claim one. Subpoint A, Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment implies a right to privacy. Here the Fourth Amendment states, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. It implies privacy with the wording unreasonable searches and seizures. Subpoint B, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Claim 2, the inherency claim. The Patriot Act infringes on these rights to privacy. The Patriot, subpoint A, I'll give you a quick summary of my subpoints. Subpoint A, it was passed very quickly and hastily. Subpoint B, judicial control is limited of the Patriot Act. Subpoint C, it expanded surveillance tools. Subpoint D, this collection of phone data violates privacy. Okay. Subpoint A. From the American Civil Liberties Union, the evidence states, just 6 weeks after the September 11th attacks, the panicked Congress passed the USA Patriot Act. Continuing, Congress and the administration acted without any careful or systematic effort to determine whether weakness in our surveillance laws had contributed to the attacks, or whether the changes they were making would help prevent further attacks. Indeed, many of the Act's provisions have nothing at all to do with terrorism. Also, senators were not given enough time to read it. Also from the ACLU, the Senate version was sent straight to the floor with no discussion, debate, or hearings. Many senators complained that they had little chance to read it, much less to analyze it, before having to vote. Also, furthermore, most of the changes, or also from the ACLU, most of the changes to surveillance law made by the Patriot Act were part of a long-standing law enforcement wish list that had been previously rejected by Congress, in some cases repeatedly. Subpoint B, judicial control is limited. The government has been given power to survey warrantlessly. From the Washington Post, Tom McPhee's Here's Everything We've Learned About How the NSA Secret Program Works. In 2007, Congress gave the government broad powers to engage in warrantless surveillance for intelligent purposes. But until 2013, the details of how the government was using those powers was closely held secret. Continuing, from the ACLU, judicial oversight of these new powers is essentially non-existent. The government must only certify to a judge, with no need of evidence or proof, that such a search meets the statute's broad criteria, and the judge does not even have the authority to reject the application. Also, under the Patriot Act, PRT orders issued by a judge are no longer valid only in that judge's jurisdiction, but can be made valid anywhere in the United States. Subpoint C. Patriot Act has expanded surveillance tools, including the secret searches, trap and trace searches, record searches, and intelligence searches. And I'll describe each of them briefly. Secret searches, these are all from the ACLU. It expands the government's ability to provide private property search, ability to search private property without notice of the owner. Trap and trace searches. It expands another Fourth Amendment exception for spying that collects addressing information about the origin and destination of communication as opposed to content. Record searches. It expands the government's ability to look at the records on an individual's activity being held by third parties. Intelligence searches. It expands a narrow exception to the Fourth Amendment that has been created for the collection of foreign intelligence information. Okay, going on to my last subpoint for an inherency claim that the Patriot Act infringes on privacy rights. From the ACLU, subpoint. Subpoint D. The government, from the ACLU, the government no longer has to show evidence that the subjects of search orders are an agent of foreign power, a requirement that previously protected Americans from abuse of this authority. So the Americans don't have protection anymore from that. Going on, from Noel Brinkerhoff, from Bipartisan House Bill would repeal Patriot Act and ban source citation. Anyway, he says, Patrick Eddington, National Security and Civil Liberties Police Analyst for the libertarian think tank Cato Institute, said, all mass surveillance does is violate the rights and put a chilling effect on the American people. Also, from Barton Gelman, the NSA has no reason to suspect that the movements of the overwhelming majority of cell phone users would be relevant to national security. From Nadia Kayali, from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, I quote, what's more, claims that the collection of call records is not that big of an invasion of privacy are simply untrue. As we point out in our amicus brief in Clayman versus Obama, the call records collected by the governments are not just metadata, they are intimate portraits of the lives of millions of Americans. In one short-term study of a small sample of call detail information, researchers at Stanford were able to identify one plausible inference of a subject obtaining an abortion, one subject with a heart condition, one with multiple sclerosis, and the owner of a specific brand of a firearm. My third point.
No, you're out of time.
Fine?
Yeah.
Okay.